3 nights straight, after which he gets knocked out as well, wondering what his next mission will be. A couple days pass by, and one morning while Asano was doing his Giga training as he did, weighted push-ups with 500 kigyus on his back, he gets a call from Nanao, who claims that he needs help. Asano asks what's up, and Nanao claims that he is currently on a top-secret undercover mission in an evil lab where scientists are trying to make bioweapons. He claims that they have already created a pill which, if explodes, can instantly kill everyone outside in a 10-kilometer area. This is all pretty serious for Asano, but Nanao talks about it as if it's an everyday matter. He tells Asano that he used his chemicals to make the entire lab sleep, but he doesn't think it would be safe for him to bring the potent bioweapon outside. So instead, he decides to gulp it down like a champ and claims that a human body has a lot of natural defenses, and his body especially is very good at dealing with things like this and will probably easily neutralize it. The only downside to that is that he immediately starts feeling very sleepy and starts acting like a drunkard. He tells Asano that he needs him to come and fetch him from this secret lab, as he can't let the scientists and the security find him while he is sleeping. Asano immediately asks him about his location, but he only provides him with a half-assed location before falling asleep. Asano gets worried and immediately dresses up before leaving for the lab location. He somehow manages to get inside the general location of the lab, but he finds it a bit weird because this all seems way too easy till now, and he has seen no one. He turns around the corner and finds a bunch of guards just unconscious on the floor while he moves through the area with his gun pointed ahead. He T-ranks whether this is all Nanao's doing, but he doesn't think that this is the way Nanao does his job. He moves through the area when suddenly he hears a guard, but before he could deal with him, a weighted chain strikes the guard and knocks him out. Immediately, 2 young men come out of the shadows who seem to know Asano as they ask whether he is also here on a mission. The green-haired guy named Sui walks up to Asano and introduces his yellow-haired friend as Oga and claims that they both work for a government intelligence unit. Asano remembers hearing about these government spies who are supposed to be top class in their jobs, unlike many of the freelance spy groups. Sui claims that they were sent to neutralize the lab and asks Oga whether he can hear anything. Oga seems to have superb hearing as he immediately senses the enemy. Sui starts walking ahead, wishing Asano good luck for his mission, but Oga has other plans as he grabs Asano, claiming that they could need some allies. Asano doesn't know how to feel about this makeshift alliance, but he at least knows that they are not his enemies as they breeze through the guards, dispatching them with exceeding ease. They finally make their way through the inner lab, and Asano immediately enters to find Nanao laying on the ground. He checks on him to find out that he is still alive, but seems to be in a bad condition when suddenly the chain flies towards Nanao. Thankfully, Asano instantly swats it away with his knife, which breaks on impact and also hurts his arm. He asks what's wrong with them, but Sui replies that they are sent here to neutralize the lab and have eavesdropped of his conversation with Nanao, which gave them the information that he has ingested the bioweapon, which makes him a threat itself who needs to be dealt with. Asano walks up in front of Nanao and claims that they will have to go through him first as he takes out his stun gun while Oga tells him not to do it. Sui, however, is not this generous and uses the special thunder breathing that Zenitsu taught him to move through Asano with surprising speed as he slices through his gun and his body. Asano falls down to the ground as he starts bleeding profusely. Oga seems to be pretty pissed at Sui for this, but the green-haired lad tells him to keep his emotions in check as he walks over to kill Nanao. Asano collects whatever strength he has left and begs Sui to leave Nanao alone, but Sui has no such intentions as he takes out his sword. Suddenly, Nanao wakes up and tells them that he has already neutralized the toxins and they can check the results of his sweat on the test patch. He tells Sui that if he still intends to kill him, at least let him patch Asano first so he can live. Sui, however, seems to be calm and collected as he claims that if the toxin is neutralized, then the job is over, and takes the test patch as proof before leaving him with an ointment to heal Asano. Nanao immediately heads over to Asano and tells him to keep his senses, but Asano is too badly hurt and gets knocked out. A couple of days pass by, and thankfully he is alive, but also getting punished by Hazy, who strung him above candles as there has been an article about the Yosakira family getting defeated by the government spies, and the reporter also claims that this is the downfall of the family. This pisses Hazy off, who also got review bombed on Google. But before he could do anything, Matsumi and Nanao smack some senses in him and remove the kinky ball gag from Asano. Matsumi tells him not to worry, but Asano claims that he deserves it because he let the Yosakira family down. Hazy swings him around, claiming that he can make it better by defeating the government spies and avenging his loss. He claims that they have special skills that make them the best of the best. And a battle of spies is about intel, so he needs to steal intel from them. The next day, Asano starts tailing Sui, who uses his sword to shred up delinquents' clothes before he walks near Asano and asks what he wants. Asano is shocked to find his cover blown so easily and honestly replies that he is here to learn from him. Sui claims that he doesn't really care and Asano can do whatever he wants. Immediately after, Sui leaves and starts walking at extremely high speeds, forcing Asano to run behind him. Asano tries to catch up to him by jumping through the crowd, but Sui simply uses his sword to unclothe him, after which he gets caught by the police for public exposure. The next day, he tries to follow him again while on a train, but Sui does the same once again, forcing him away. The third day, he hangs atop a building while Sui and Oga have their lunch, and after they are done, Sui again unclothes him before they walk away. The next day, Asano is able to tail them till the evening when they are fighting with some ruffians. Asano also helps by getting rid of them, which impresses Oga, but Sui again tries to unclothe him, only this time Asano manages to dodge it a little bit and manages to save his dignity by making sure his pants were still there. Oga laughs at this, which pisses Sui off, and he loots both of them of their dignity right there. That evening, Nanao heads down into the kitchen, only to find Hayes chopping some crispy water. Nanao asks whether he has seen Asano, and Hayes replies that he found him on the front door as usual without any clothes. Nanao asks whether he put Asano back in his bed, but Hayes replies that he thought Asano would serve better as a chopping board. Nanao punches him away and puts Asano back on the table, where Asano apologizes for being so weak. Nanao tells him that he is a very cool person because he always does things in his own unpredictable way. This suddenly makes him realize something about Sui, and he goes on to tail him another day. This time he manages to do so for a full day, and by the time night comes, Sui attends to his last task of cleaning a gravestone and commends Asano for being the first person to tail him for a full day. To give him the proper respect for that, Sui claims that he will treat Asano as an equal and finish him off. He takes his sword out and attacks Asano once again, like so many times before, but this time Asano manages to grab his hand into a lock before throwing him up in the sky. He realized after getting slashed up so many times that no matter what the first attack that Sui delivers is always towards the center of the body, which is a predictable habit. Sui manages to fall back on his feet easily while Asano stands there, as he still got slashed a little bit and starts bleeding. Sui commends him and tells Oga, who is trying to hide, that he can come out and treat Asano. Oga immediately patches Asano up as he finally gets over the hurdle in his way with the name of Sui. Soon everyone forgot about his defeat against Sui, but the spy newspaper picked up on his naked sightings and called him a pervert, which is a new problem that he doesn't know how to deal with, even though Mutsumi promises to love him even if he is a pervert. Couple days pass by when one morning Mutsumi asks Asano whether he could help her with an errand, and he obviously agrees. They start walking through a seemingly popular park as Asano wonders what errand might it be that requires him to carry so much stuff on his back as if he was a pack mule. She tells him not to worry and keep walking when they arrive near a bench where the familiar green-haired face was waiting for them. Sui gives them a curt greeting while Mutsumi asks how he has been. Asano can't get his head around what's happening and asks what all this is about. Mutsumi claims that they have some work with Sui, and that's why she came here. But Asano still doesn't understand and asks whether she knows him. Mutsumi smiles and tells him not to worry about Sui as he is just a friend, which makes Asano worried as his ex said the same. But Mutsumi claims that you meet a lot of people when you're in the spy business, so it's okay. They all start walking as both Sui and Mutsumi talk, while Asano walks behind them like their servant. Soon they all enter a cafe-like establishment, which confuses Asano as he thought they were going on an important work outing, but he follows them regardless. Inside the cafe looks like any other high-priced Starbucks, knockoff and like a white girl's with too much money. Sui starts ordering a coffee whose name I can barely pronounce. Asano is just as horrified while Mutsumi gets moist because of his coffee ordering skills. Soon, the barista pushes a bunch of different buttons on the device in front of him, when suddenly a trapdoor appears beneath them and they all start falling through it. Asano is left alone with the huge luggage to free fall, while Sui, Princess carries Mutsumi as they start talking with each other. Sui welcomes them to the government spy building, while Asano tells her to keep his hands off his bride. Mutsumi tells him not to worry as he is just a friend, which makes him realize that Mutsumi belongs to the street. Sui produces a cup of tea from his ass and they both start drinking while he tells Asano to keep his eyes peeled forward as this might get dangerous. Suddenly an arrow whizzes past his forehead, which is followed by a bunch of more arrows and dots, some spikes, and even high-powered lasers. Sui claims that this is designed to be a prevention measure against infiltrators as well as basic training. Sui calmly and elegantly wards off all the arrow and darts with his sword, while Asano tries to jump and dodge anything he possibly can. Soon Sui elegantly lands on his feet with Mutsumi, while Asano falls face forward on the ground. Sui immediately tells him that he should move away, as a huge metal ball almost falls on top of him. But at the last moment, a woman intervenes and punches the ball into 1,000,000 different pieces, as Asano watches her in awe and disbelief as she asks whether someone as weak as Asano can actually protect Mutsumi. They all sit down, and it turns out that the entire bag that he was carrying was filled with sweets as they wanted to have a tea party here. The woman eats an entire cake while Sui takes small bites. But Asano is still not completely normalized as he watches them, unable to understand what's happening. Mutsumi finally explains that the woman is named Rin, and she is the classmate of Hazi, but they never liked each other and were always at odds. The one thing that they both seem to share, however, is their love for Mutsumi as she starts coddling her before moving over to Asano, claiming that she wanted her married to a strong man who could protect her without fail. She tells him that Sui explained their encounter and called him a turd face, but Sui corrects that he called Asano a dirtbag, who is extremely weak for a spy. Mutsumi, however, comes for his defense and tells Rin that even if he might not be as experienced, his soul and will is just as strong as Hazy. Before they could do anything else, though, the walls start shaking and break from one side entirely and from the fallen debris and dust. Haze walks with his suit, angry at them for stealing Mutsumi away without his permission. Rin steps up and starts walking towards him as she tells him to come later as they are having a tea party. But Hazy has heard enough and tries to slash her with his wires. Fortunately for Rin, she is strong enough that a single punch of hers completely demolishes his wires, but they are both hell-bent on fighting each other. They get ready, and the fight starts as they start trying to attack, block, and counterattack, all at the same time with such quickness that Asano could barely see their hands moving. Just by the intensity of the fight, the entire facility starts breaking down, and a red alert is alarmed for the employees to immediately evacuate the area. Mutsumi tells Asano that it happens every single time, which shocks Asano, while Sui tells them to stay back, as he will try to break their fight off. He jumps in with surprising quickness with his sword drawn, but he is no match against these monsters, who immediately use their abilities to swat them away as they continue their fight. Suddenly, Mutsumi jumps ahead and stands in between them, forcing them to stop. But it is too late, as both Hazy and Rin realize that they can't stop their attacks at this point, which will hit Mutsumi. Thankfully, Asano comes in clutch and shoves her head down at the very last moment, getting hit in the face by both the punches himself that knock him down into Mutsumi's arms. Everything goes silent as Mutsumi speaks up very calmly and tells both of them that if they don't stop their fight right this instance, she will never talk to either of them again. This immediately brings them in line, but Hazy is so scared that he ends up getting knocked out cold, while Rin falls to the ground and apologizes to her. She then looks at Asano and commends him for taking that attack, while Mutsumi smiles, claiming that he is strong even if he doesn't look that way. A little while later, when he comes back to his senses, Rin tells him that she has a job for him, as she wants him to do some undercover investigation against one of the most prominent politicians. While Mutsumi ties Haze up, Rin explains that the name of the politician is Kuro, and he has a lot of swing in the public right now and will probably win the next election. This wouldn't have been an issue, but it turns out that this man is truly evil, as everyone thinks he is just a quirky politician who wears weird clothes and dances in his rallies. But he has top-class spies working for him named Red, Blue, and Yellow, who are basically his sword, and they go out to extort, bribe, and even murder the opposition for him. The government spies have been trying to find more info about him for a while, but all they found was a very small bomb which was probably bought from outside the country in order to assassinate the opposition leaders. They figured out who was the seller of the bomb, but when they interrogate him, he simply provided the video of his anonymous buyer. Asano watches the video in surprise, as it's clearly the politician, but Rin tells him that it's not enough evidence to incarcerate him. He asks why is he being chosen, and she replies that they have been spying on him for a while, and he now has his guard against the government spies. But he might not be expecting an outside spy who recently joined one of the freelancing families. She tells him that they will need to change his looks a little bit, and immediately Sui chops his hairs off while Matsumi colors it black and makes him wear a secretary uniform. He looks at himself, horrified to find himself as a cross-dresser who catfishes people. Rin tells him that Kuro has recently posted an advertisement for a secretary with the same features and he will definitely hire him. The plan works, and at the very next public appearance, he introduces Asano in front of everyone as his new personal secretary. They all keep dancing as loud music plays behind, when suddenly a bunch of protesters move on stage and start shouting that Kuro is nothing but a tyrant, and if left unchecked, he will become a dictator. After that, everything went to shit as scuffles started breaking out and chaos ensued. During that time, one of the huge woofers ended up getting knocked over and were about to fall on top of one of the protesters. But to everyone's surprise, Kuro runs ahead and takes the damage while saving the protester. He claims that the public is everything for him, and he wants people to come up with arguments against him, as that is the only way he could better himself and his party. This touches the heart of the protester, and they shake hands as everyone around cheers on for him. Soon an ambulance is called, and the bloody-faced Kuro is placed on a stretcher. He tells Asano to head back to the office while he gets inside the ambulance alongside the spies. The moment he was out of view, he takes out his bandages and celebrates his little media stunt, which is already going viral on the internet. He praises Red for placing the woofer at the perfect position to fall and asks Blue about the statistics and public perception, only to find out that people seem to like him more after his staged heroic deed. Unbeknownst to them, Asano was listening to everything as he snuck inside and decides to start looking for his actual illegal activities. He searched through his document and everything present in their office and was practically with them all the time, but still, he wasn't able to find even a single piece of document that was illegal. Surprisingly enough, they kept continuing their illegal activities throughout their election campaign with superb coordination. But Asano can't understand how, as they never make any plans or talk about anything illegal, all they do is dance around all day and make his life miserable. Suddenly, he remembers their dance and the patterns in their rhythm. The realization dawns upon him that all this while they were making plans right in front of him through the use of Morse code, but he never caught on to that. Suddenly, he starts listening to their code and finds out that they are planning to plant a bomb inside tomorrow's conference where the current prime minister would be. They plan on committing this terrorist act tomorrow while he was still there so that it would all look like it was done by an outside entity. He planned on faking some injuries on himself and then making a declaration about how he will save the country and take revenge on the terrorists. Asano hears all this, and the next day when everything falls in place, Kuro tries to blow up the bomb, but to his surprise, nothing happens inside. Instead, a bomb goes out in the fountain, as Asano was unable to neutralize it, so he threw it outside. To his shock, Kuro seems to know about this as he brazenly takes out his gun and shoots Asano in the head, claiming that he has another bomb. He activates the other bomb to kill the witnesses, but it turns out to be filled with cotton candy, which catches him off guard. As Asano gets up as well, since Kuro's gun was changed and it only had paintballs in it, he takes out another gun alongside his spies. But Sui enters the fray and chops off their guns, which scares the spies who run away. Leaving Kuro alone, he grabs another gun. But Sui simply unclothes him and hands him over to Asano to transport him to their facility. While in the van, Kuro starts telling Asano that he knows each and every detail of his life before claiming that his family didn't die in an accidental car crash. This catches him off guard as Kuro continues that the accident was orchestrated, and in fact, it was the work of some men because of which he lost his family. Asano loses high mind for a moment as he points his gun at the politician and tells him to divulge all the information while Kuro laughs. Knowing that his plan worked, Asano again asks him how does he know about his family, and Kuro refuses to answer that question. However, he gives him a piece of advice saying that the world is littered with hidden truths. Suddenly, Asano gets a call from Sui, who tells him that they have an emergency. The deputy prime minister has been abducted and his condition is being live-streamed from an unknown location. The deputy prime minister at the meeting turned out to be a fake, and Sui believes that Kuro planned all that in advance. He wants Asano to interrogate the politician and get him to cough out the location of the deputy prime minister. Kuro hears all that, and he says that the timing is quite convenient, because he was also planning on going to the kidnapping site. Suddenly, his restraints come undone and Asano can just stare at him while he drops his earring. The earring turns out to be a bomb that blows away the whole van with it. Meanwhile, in the Yozakira mansion, Nanao is experimenting on a new chemical, but he messes up and creates a huge explosion. Matsumi comes rushing to his room with a gas mask on and asks if he is fine. Nanao apologizes for damaging the room, but Matsumi remarks that he is in worse shape because his muscles are growing out of proportion all over his body. After that, Nanao resumes working and tells Matsumi that he is worried that Asano might come home terribly injured, which is why he is trying to create a very effective healing potion. He asks Matsumi if she is not worried about him, and she replies that she is also very worried. She has prepared a grand feast to welcome Asano home after he completes his mission. She believes that even if he is hurt after the mission eating all, this food will instantly heal him, and Nanao wants to disagree. Matsumi then wonders what the rest of the family members are doing. Nanao tells her that Kengo is creating a machine washable face for Asano in case he comes back home unrecognizable. Shin is taking out the computers of their haters so that they won't cause a commotion in case something happens to Asano. Shinzo is really worried about Asano too, which is why he cannot come out of the garbage can. Heizi and Futa are just sitting still while having tea. Futa believes that there is no need to worry, because Asano can get things done when he has to. Heizi is the opposite of her, and he is just wishing for the boy to meet a horrible end. Hearing all this doesn't ease Matsumi's heart even one bit, and she's still anxious about her husband. Back at the location of the explosion, Asano is helping the injured driver by taking him away from the flames. He gets a call from Sui, who asks if he is fine. Asano assures him that he is not injured and even managed to save the driver. But Kuro got away. Sui replies that it is not a problem because they were expecting that. He reveals that they were hiding the truth about Kuro's identity from him. He is not just an ordinary politician, but a former spy who was a legend back in the day. Everyone thought that he died 6 years ago, but he then started a second career as a politician. That is why they deliberately had loose security around him, this time so that they could figure out what he was planning. They have placed a GPS on Kuro, and Sui tells Asano to return home because his mission is complete now. On the other hand, Kuro takes off the blindfold of the Deputy Prime Minister before taking a seat next to him. This meeting is being live-streamed all over the country, throwing the media and general public in chaos. That was Kuro's motive from the beginning. The minister says that he is disappointed in Kuro, who he thought was a committed politician, despite his odd activities. He tells Kuro that engaging in such terrorist activities won't change the political situation in his favor. And then Kuro starts taking off his disguise. As he takes off his funky glasses, the minister starts trembling as he notices his pitch-black eyes. Kuro says that the minister must have been pretty sure that he got him killed, which is why he did not realize his true identity earlier. The minister finally recognizes Kuro as a spy he dealt with in the past. Kuro then turns to the audience and tells them that today he will address them not as a politician, but as a man who lost his child. He says that he took revenge on numerous politicians involved in his downfall behind the scenes. However, the Deputy Prime Minister was the biggest culprit, so he wants to deliver justice to him in front of the entire world. Kuro points his gun at him, asking if he will tell the world the truth and end his political career, or will he refuse to answer and die. The minister scoffs, saying that it is a stupid idea to ask politicians to speak the truth, and Kuro decides to end his life. However, the stream gets cut off abruptly as Asano arrived there on time and shot down the recording device. Kuro is pleased to see the young spy here, but Asano tells him to let the minister go. Kuro refuses, knowing that Asano can't shoot him because then the minister will also be caught in the fire. He fires at Asano's hand, forcing him to let go of the gun. However, Asano uses this chance to close the distance between them and grabs Kuro from behind. Kuro was ready for this, and he simply grabs Asano and slams him to the ground. He knows all about the weapons and fighting techniques used by the Yasukuro family, and takes the steel wires from Asano's pocket and ties him with them. Asano wants to know how can Kuro know about it, and he replies that it is because he is great at gathering information and using it to his advantage. Asano asks him why a spy like him turned into a politician and deceived the public. Kuro replies that he has no interest in politics, and he did everything just for the sake of revenge. Asano is curious now, and Kuro tells him that because of his excellent abilities, he was very valued in the political world. He often used to do the dirty work of politicians. But when he went home, he was just an idiot father who loved his daughter. He put on the funky wig and glasses to entertain his daughter on her birthday, and she just laughed at him trying to act like that. She told him that if he wanted to surprise her, he should have not sent the gift in advance. Kuro didn't know what she was talking about, and the girl pointed at a box in the corner that suddenly exploded. Taking their entire house with it, Kuro lost his daughter because of the explosion, and he could only cry for her. He realized that his masters had decided to dispose of him now that he had done everything for them. In that moment, he swore to get revenge on them and let them feel the same pain he had felt. That is why he faked his own death and became a politician to get revenge. Kuro claims that once he became a politician, it was quite easy to use his achievements and reel in his targets close and kill them. Kuro points his gun at the minister, saying that he is the last one left now. Asano suddenly lunges towards him, but Kuro's 3 spy gods come there out of nowhere and stop him. Kuro tells Asano that he can't win against them by himself. He adds that since Asano is also someone who has lost his dear family, he does not want to hurt him. Instead, he proposes to tell him everything he knows about his family's death if he steps back now. Asano is tempted, but he tells Kuro that he wants to know about his family, but not if it means someone else has to die. Just then, Sui arrives there, and before anyone can even realize it, he has cut a huge hole in the floor. The 3 lackeys and Sui fall through the hole, and he asks Asano to deal with Kuro and rescue the minister. Asano attacks Kuro, who easily blocks his knife that has poison inside it. He knows about it and stabs Asano with the knife, causing his muscles to go lax and he cannot fight back. Kuro hits him away and Asano lies on the floor bleeding. He tries getting up again, but Kuro tells him that it is of no use. On the other hand, the 3 spies ask Sui if he really thinks that he can defeat them. They show their special abilities. Red specializes in using fire, blue in using high-pressure water that can cut through anything, and yellow in electricity that can fry any computer and any brain. They act like Power Rangers, saying that together they are unbeatable. Sui is impressed by their confidence, and he decides to reveal his trick to them too. He tells them how his trick allows him to move really fast and silently, which is greatly helpful in battle. The 3 spy brothers combine their powers and send a giant elemental ball towards Sui, who uses a special Demon Slayer type move to slash through it in one go. He even defeats the 3 brothers in the same move and then decides to back up Asano. However, he suddenly feels a presence behind him and swings his sword at it instinctively. There is nothing there, but Sui is sure that someone very powerful was there just a moment ago. Back on top, Asano gets up somehow and Kuro talks to him about how the pain of losing one's family never truly goes away. He tells the boy that he cannot change anything about his life or his current situation. Asano admits that he is right, but then he remembers one day when he went to pay respect to his parents' grave. Mutsumi was praying by his side, and that gave him a lot of strength. With that in mind, Asano charges towards Kuro, who is confident that he knows about all the techniques or weapons he can use. However, just as Asano reaches him, he uses the silent stepping technique of Sui and appears behind Kuro before he can even realize it. Kuro wonders how Asano knows about it. It turns out that Heise had already warned Asano about the dangers of fighting a pro because they would always know everything about him, because then they lose their ability to deal with the unexpected. He had told Asano that he doesn't even need a perfect or refined technique to take a pro by surprise, because anything that surprises the opponent will work. Asano reaches behind Kuro and grabs his arm, cracking open the antidote to the poison hidden in his teeth. Kuro tries stabbing him with a knife again, but he blocks the attack with a hard synthetic skin on his arms. Kuro loses the knife and pulls out his gun, but Asano is already too close to him to let him take a shot. He pushes his hand back and then jams the gun with a slime. Kuro pulls out his second gun, but Asano chops it using the steel spider wire and then pins him to the ground. Kuro realizes that his excellence in gathering information turned out to be his downfall. He praises Asano, saying that he will become a great spy one day. Until then, he must keep moving forward, out of respect for his actions and determinations. Kuro decides to share all his information with him. He grabs Asano's hand and puts something there. But before he can tell him about his family, he is shot in his neck. Asano is stunned because he didn't even hear a gunshot, and there should be no one behind him to take the shot. With his last breath, Kuro tells Asano to keep moving forward and then loses his consciousness forever. Sue comes there just then and realizes that another assassin must have silenced Kuro. He tells Asano to be proud that he completed his mission against a much more experienced spy. However, he can only look at the paper slip that Kuro left him. Turns out that the paper had a map which pointed to the location where Kuro had buried his daughter. Asano goes to her grave to pay respects to her as per Kuro's last wish. After that, he puts his hand in a tiny hole in the tree and takes out a box that contains the information he is looking for. Later, Asano returns home where his family is eagerly waiting for him. Matsumi runs to hug him, and everyone tells him that he did a great job. While there seems to be something bothering him, Asano can smile when he is with them. A couple days later, Rin calls both Asano and Matsumi to her headquarters, where they all sit down as Rin congratulates Asano on completing his mission successfully and tells him that today they are going to celebrate by having hot pot. Everyone sits around the table while Rin puts an ungodly amount of rice in Asano's bowl before claiming that she will get everything ready for the hot pot. Asano asks Sui, what is she talking about? And Sui claims that every time she arranges for a hot pot, she goes all out and captures and hunts all the animals with her own bare hands before bringing them here to eat. She walks towards a huge cluster of dead monstrous animals bigger than herself as she thinks which meat should she use first. Sui walks up to her and tells her that he will chop it up to size for her, so she allows him to do so. He calmly walks up before taking his sword out, and with single elegant slash of his sword he cuts every single animal to size perfectly ready for the hot pot. The amazing smell of food covers the entire room as Asano grabs a bowl and starts taking out some soup alongside meat and veggies and hands it over to Mutsumi like a total gentleman. Mutsumi really likes it and thanks him from the bottom of her heart as she takes the bowl. But before she could even take a bite, Hai stuffs Asano's mouth with a bunch of veggies, choking him out as he lays on the ground while he tells him never to try and portion out food for his sister again, as that honor goes to him and him alone. He quickly gets a bowl of food and tells Mutsumi that he only put her favorite stuff in. But Rin shows this sister loving freak his place by pushing his head into the bowl, telling him to piss off and stop acting like a jealous in-law. This pisses Hai off, and immediately a food fight breaks out as both of them start throwing food at each other while the others move out of way as quickly as possible. Toga seems to be really hungry and can't watch all this food going to waste, so he tries to get a bowl full of food before it all spills over, but gets a fish cake to his face which knocks him out in Asano's arms. While this is happening, Sui is being his cool self as he simply dodges all the veggies and grabs all the meat pieces flying all over the place and starts eating them. He tells Asano that dodging something that isn't aimed at them is extremely easy as he grabs some bowl and uses his special walking technique to fill both the bowls up with food, which he hands over to Matsumi. She gives one bowl to an impressed Asano and keeps the other for herself while Sui tells him to be careful with his walking technique as it takes a toll on their bones and can permanently damage them. Before he can even react, a piece of hot meat slams in his face and he starts screaming, while Sui simply picks and chooses what he wants to eat and grabs it from the air. After a while, they all have finally eaten their fill as both Oga and Rin sleep on the floor while Sui quickly cleans everything up. Meanwhile, Asano is sitting behind a shelf looking at the small cube, wondering whether he will actually find the truth behind the death of his family inside of this as Kuro claimed. Suddenly, he is surprised by Matsumi, who sits down beside him and asks whether the cube contains information about his family, and he claims that it does. She asks why does he look so stressed, and he replies that even though his body immediately sprang into action to try and save the Prime Minister against Kuro, there was a split second where he was thinking that if he found the culprit who killed his family, he would probably do the same and make it his life goal to eliminate that person. This makes him equal to Kuro. Then by what right can he condemn him? He is scared that uncovering this secret might change him, but without saying anything. Matsumi kisses him on the cheek, surprising him as he looks at her and asks what was that for. She smiles and claims that she just wanted to comfort him a bit when she realizes that the cube ended up opening and a marble falls out of it. Asano grabs the marble and wonders what the hell is it. When Heise comes out and claims that the marble is a special device which contains optical information, but when he looks at him, Asano realizes that Heise must have seen Matsumi kissing him as blood is pouring out of his eyes as he gets ready to evaporate Asano. But thankfully, Rin grabs him from behind and tells Asano to run away quickly. Later that day, both him and Matsumi return back to their house, and Asano starts feeling extremely tired and his body feels heavy. Suddenly he realizes that someone is literally sitting on his head, and it turns out to be none other than the assassin Ayaka. She stands there in her maid outfit as Asano asks, what the hell is she doing here? She claims that Matsumi asked her to stay here, and Matsumi agrees, claiming that from now on she will be staying here as a live-in maid and will be taking care of day-to-day tasks. Ayaka immediately starts dancing around Asano, claiming that she knows everything that has happened till now, and also claims that she knows about the optical drive that he got. Asano asks how the hell does she know that? But she claims that she is a spy and knows everything before grabbing it out of his pocket. Asano tries to take it back, but Shin enters the room with her sleepy eyes and grabs the marble from Ayaka's hand as she studies it and claims that not only is it extremely old, but it is also a bit damaged. She tells him that it will take quite a lot of time to get the data out of it. While Matsumi calls Ayaka over to teach her how to make some good tea, Asano asks whether it is advisable for them to have a literal spy assassin in their house. But Ayaka claims that it is perfect right now, as Asano's bounty has gone up by quite a lot because of his last mission, and he is becoming very well known in the underworld. Because of that, there will be a lot more assassination attempts, and he needs to be ready for that. To make sure that he trains, she will be trying to assassinate him on a daily basis while he tries to evade her attacks. She throws a bunch of forks at him while Asano thinks about what kind of life is he going to live from now on. Later that evening, he is so tired by the training that he is unable to move. As he lays down on the table while Matsumi offers to make him some tea. He thanks her but claims that he wants to take a bath first. He enters inside the bathroom for a refreshing shower, when to his surprise, Ayaka emerges from the bathroom scaring him and starts clicking his pictures, claiming that it is important for a spy to be vigilant, especially when they are vulnerable. She keeps clicking pictures and then grabs a bottle and starts squirting an acidic solution that burns the walls. Asano keeps dodging them as he tries to move away, when to their surprise, the house defense system activates and shocks the living daylights out of Ayaka in the bathtub. This was not anticipated as she tells him not to come near, otherwise he will get shocked as well. Asano tries to find a way to save her when he breaks the wall and finds the main power outlet. Without a second thought, he jumps into the tub and grabs Ayaka while grabbing the power supply with his other arm. Ayaka tells him to leave her, but he continues trying and manages to short the power supply, creating an explosion, and runs on top of Ayaka on the ground. Unfortunately for him, Heis finds him in this scandalous position and grabs a prehistoric torture device because no man should even look at another woman if he is married to Matsumi. Asano starts running away as Heis chases after him alongside Ayaka, who has fallen for Asano once again, as they chase him naked through the house. A couple of days pass by when Asano starts going on his regular mission once again. One such day he forgets his phone, but when Matsumi tries to hand it over to him, she notices someone named Kaoru calling him. He immediately grabs it out of her hand, claiming that it's no one before cutting the phone and moving outside. Matsumi doesn't know what to make of it when Ayaka appears behind her scaring the shit out of her as she cries, claiming that these are the signs of cheating. He goes away, early comes back late, switches off his location sometimes so that no one can track him, gets calls from unknown people, and also manages to evade her when she tried to follow him. She claims that these are clear signs of cheating, but Matsumi trusts him and tells her not to worry. The next day, Matsumi takes Goliath out for a walk alongside Asano and tells him that she is really happy to spend some quality time with him, as he has been really busy recently. Asano smiles at this before he starts asking questions about what breed is Goliath. Matsumi claims that he is not a normal dog as he has been around for hundreds of years in the Yasakira family and was even a guard dog to her great-great-grandmother. She claims that he is a special mix between a mystic wolf and a dog, which makes him able to change shape. Right then, in front of his eyes, Goliath changes shape and becomes more wolf-looking as it increases in size. She sits on top of him, claiming that he is very strong, and asks whether Asano would like to sit as well. Goliath would not have that though, and flicks him away, with his tail forcing Matsumi to hand him to leash only. Immediately, Goliath takes to the wind as he starts running at an incredible speed, dragging Asano behind and even running through water. By the time they are done, Asano is completely drenched on the ground in a park. Suddenly, a couple of kids come around Goliath to look at him, and Matsumi goes over when suddenly, Goliath notices something is wrong and an explosion takes place. Thankfully, Matsumi saves the kids while Goliath covers her, but they soon realize that Asano tried to save them and took the brunt of the damage. This pisses her off, and she asks Goliath to figure out who did this. Goliath immediately sniffs the detonator and maps out a route through the city to find out where it came from. It turns out that some weird third-class joke imitation planned all this to try and kill Matsumi. As he sits in his mom's basement and looks at his computer, surprised to find her still alive. Suddenly, Goliath breaks through his door and enters inside before killing him in an instant. Later that evening, Asano gets a call which he immediately hides and claims that he needs to return back to the house. Murasumi doesn't ask much questions and tells Goliath to take them back. But to their surprise, this time Goliath allows him to sit on his back as he takes them home. Back at home, he gets immediately attacked by Ayaka, who accuses him of cheating, and hearing this, even Heis comes over to torture him. Before they could do anything though, two people enter the room claiming to be government spies who claim that there have been a misunderstanding, and Kaoru is the name of the old man. He takes out the special dark sweet tea leaves which Asano wanted to get, as he claims that Asano simply wanted to get Heis's favorite tea leaves, which are extremely hard to find. For that, he went through countless missions to retrieve the ingredients but wanted to keep it a secret. Heis can't believe that a guy who he antagonized so much would do something like this for him, as he almost chokes himself out of shame. Later that evening, they all sit down and have some amazing tea, as they discuss about the future plans for the Yosakira family. A few days later, Fuda is training Asano's reflexes by shooting baseballs at him using a freaking Gatling gun. He can barely run while dodging them all, and after the grueling training session, he returns home. There, he finds Matsumi watching an old picture book. Everyone looks quite young in that picture, and Matsumi proudly shows it to Futa and Asano. He asks her the occasion of taking the particular picture, and she tells him that it was to celebrate Nanao passing his spy license exam. Futa affirms, saying that it is their family tradition to click a family photo when someone gets their license. Asano is curious about the thing called the spy license, and both the girls watch him in confusion. After that, Futa sips some tea while she informs Asano that a spy license is like a membership card issued by the Spy Association. The Spy Association was formed at the beginning of the 20th century by some spies to foster mutual aid. The association conducts exams each year, and those who pass the exams get the spy license. Futa shows her golden license, which is the highest rank of spy license. She tells Asano that once a spy gets a license, they can get intel and job references from the association, along with some other benefits. Everyone starts at bronze rank, and by passing the advancement exams, they can raise their level. As the levels increase, the missions they receive become harder, but the benefits also increase equally. Asano wants to take the license examination too, and Futa says that he should. Just then, Heiza comes there, and he has already heard the conversation. He tells Asano that it is a good thing that he is eager to take part in the license examination, but also reminds him that every member of their family has passed it on the first try. He warns Asano that if he doesn't pass in one try, things will be bad, so he starts chasing after him. Just then, they hear Ayaka screaming and find that she is crying and apologizing to Shin in her room. Everyone asks what happened, and Shin says that it is not a big deal. She was working on some program, but Ayaka touched the cables and caused it to glitch. Suddenly, the giant screen in front of her switches on, and a horror scene from a movie plays out on it. Asano freaks out a bit on seeing this and wonders what glitch can lead to this. However, just 1 second later, Mutsumi and Shin realize what just happened. Futa has been frozen stiff because of fear, and her siblings can only sigh as they take her out. Futa is shivering and bundled up in a blanket, and Mutsumi reveals that she is super scared of ghosts because her powers won't work on them. Shin talks about how Futa once destroyed a haunted house back in the past. Mutsumi pats her sister's head, saying that she will turn to normal after resting, so they just have to watch over her till then. However, that is easier said than done, because Futa is scared of even the slightest sound and climbs on Mutsumi's head as the wind rattles the windows. Shin takes this chance to talk about the supposed paranormal activities happening in the house recently because Goliath is acting strange. That freaks out Futa even more, and Mutsumi stops Shin before Futa pulls her hair out. After that, Futa becomes a needy baby, always clinging to Mutsumi and needing to be surrounded by her siblings. She even asks Shin to accompany her to the washroom. And as some horror program is about to come on TV, Shinzo shoots the remote controller to change it. Kengo tries to play pranks on her, and everyone reprimands him. After taking care of Futa the entire day, Mutsumi enters the bed with her and makes Asano stand guard so that they can sleep at peace. Futa is still shivering, so Mutsumi decides to read her favorite bedtime story for her. The story is a modern adaptation of a famous Japanese folktale. It starts with a brutal war between gunslinging demons and humans with no end in sight. One day, an old lady finds a baby boy in a river and picks him up. As soon as Mutsumi reaches this part, she immediately falls asleep, and Asano immediately covers for her. He reads the story about the boy who grows up to become the hope of humanity and ends up killing his demon best friend in the final battle. Asano is cringed by this story, but then Futa starts clapping for it. She has returned to normal now and apologizes to Asano for showing her pathetic side to him. He tries telling her that it was nothing, but Futa starts talking about how her mom used to read this story to her in the past. That time she was not afraid of anything, but after her mother died, she began fearing that no matter how hard she tried, the things she held dear would eventually be taken away from her. Futa says that she is a failure as the eldest daughter of the Yasukura family, because instead of protecting her siblings, she needs to be cared for like this. She speaks about her insecurities and then thanks Asano for listening to her, and he replies that he knows the terror of losing those close to him. However, he claims that the fear of losing them motivates him to become stronger so that he can protect them. Futa just chuckles at him and then asks him to go to his room because it is already too late. She thanks him once again and then wishes him the best of luck for his license examination. Asano leaves the room with that, and Futa caresses Matsumi as she covers her with a blanket. Soon it is the day of the spy license examination. The first task for Asano and other contestants is to run with heavy weights tied to their feet. Matsumi is watching everything from the waiting area and cheering on Asano, who manages to surpass everyone and comes first in the race. Everyone is impressed by the Yasukuro family rookie but some people seem to be displeased with him. Later, Asano eats some rice bowls made by Matsumi, who tells him to rest well before his next test. The Mohawk guy he defeated in the last race watches them from the corner. He plans to take Asano down right here to claim his bounty and charges at him with his dagger pointed ahead. However, before he can reach Asano, a strong gust of wind blows him away, and another participant says that infighting among the contestants is not allowed. Mohawk curses the boy named Hoshi, but then he notices that his knife broke, so he quickly runs away. Asano then thanks Hoshi, who tells him there is no need for it because he was just protecting what he loves. He plucks out a rice grain from his face and eats it while talking dirty to him, and Asano immediately puts his gun at his head, telling Matsumi to look out for this pervert. Hoshi tells him that he doesn't need a gun when he has already shot him through the heart, and Asano creeps out even more. However, Matsumi seems to recognize Hoshi. Matsumi furiously tells the universal flirt to stay away from her husband, but Hoshi says that he is happy being the side piece as well. He holds Asano's face and starts clicking close-up pictures. He also has a tiny Asano doll that he made from the clothes and hair left behind by Asano on his mission sites. Asano is completely freaked out by now, but then the announcement for the next test is made and Hoshi holds his hand and drags him away. The next test is to free themselves from chains underwater, and Asano manages to do it easily. Hoshi is right there at the next tank saying that he looks really attractive when he is fresh out of water. The next test is hide and seek with some burly executioners chasing after the contestants, and Hoshi manages to find Asano there too and hugs him tightly. This causes Asano to freak out and attract the attention of the executioners. The next test is defusing a bomb, and Asano successfully clears it with time to spare, but Hoshi is still nearby to pester him. The next test is a written exam where people with wrong answers are eliminated by pulling them up and getting them stuck in the ceiling. Asano is having problems solving the exam, so Hoshi decides to show him his answer sheet where he has solved all the questions. Luckily, that was the last test, and the spy license exam concludes with that. All participants are in the gallery and they are informed that everyone can collect their spy license now. However, the place is going to be dismantled immediately to maintain confidentiality, and they have one last challenge before they can receive their licenses. The hallway starts crumbling and everyone starts running ahead at full speed while others fall down. Asano and Hoshi manage to dodge all the traps in their way. The Mohawk bastard is also there, and he takes this chance to hit Asano in the face and knocks him down. The ground beneath him is crumbling and can fall any time. But Hoshi comes to his aid. He is behind Asano and swings his fan at him, sending him flying ahead to safety while he falls into the pool below with the rest of the rubble. However, Asano is not going to let him down so easily. He holds on to Hoshi's hand even though the hallway is still crumbling. Moved by his determination, Hoshi uses his fan to create a gust of wind that gently lifts both of them upwards. He lands on stable ground with Asano in his arms and tells him that he passed. Asano is confused, so Hoshi introduces himself as a silver-ranked spy and the proctor for this exam. He says that while the tests were designed to check the skills of the participants, a proctor was assigned to each participant to judge their character. The tiny old dude with mohawk snatches his license from his hands and tells him that he failed. While Hoshi walks to the platform and pulls out Asano's license, he declares that he has a character worthy of respect and trust, which is why he passes the test. Asano is delighted to receive his license and believes that Hoshi must have been joking about having a crush on him. Hoshi denies that, saying that he truly has the hots for him, but Asano prefers jumping into the pool below. Later that day, a party is organized to celebrate Asano getting his spy license. Just then, Haisa falls from the roof and casually explains that he created secret passageways in the walls to spy on Matsumi. But the walls became too thin because of that, and he fell down. This makes Fyodor realize something, and she immediately climbs on top of Haise, making him drop all sorts of equipment from his pockets. She realizes that while spying on Matsumi, he was also using the hollow walls to freak her out earlier. Haise tries to explain, but Fyodor just breaks a bunch of his bones before that. With that out of the way, they click the family photo for Asano, passing his spy license exam, and put it in the family album. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe for part 12, and make sure to check out this brand new anime about a failed hero who turns into a monster after getting attacked by a parasite, but pretends to be normal.